I was standing in front of my daughter's apartment door, my hand trembling as I reached for the doorknob. It was raining heavily, my clothes soaked, my heart racing. I had come all this way because I couldn't reach her for days. No calls, no texts, nothing. Something in my gut told me something was wrong, but just as I tried to open the door, a voice came from behind me. "Stop!" It was a man's voice, deep and urgent. I turned to see her neighbor standing there, eyes wide, face pale as if he had seen a ghost. "Don't go in there," he said quietly. "You need to know the truth first." My hand froze on the doorknob. The truth? What truth could possibly make a grown man look that terrified? Before I tell you what he said, let me take you back to where it all started. Because maybe then you'll understand why this moment broke me more than anything else in my life. My name's David, and I'm a single father. My daughter, Lily, was my whole world. Her mom, my ex-wife, left when Lily was just 7. She said she couldn't handle the stress of family life anymore, that she needed to find herself. So I became both parents overnight. I cooked, cleaned, helped with homework, attended school plays, and sat up late whenever she had nightmares. I thought we had built a bond that couldn't be broken, until I was proven wrong. Lily was bright, beautiful, and fiercely independent. When she turned 18, she got a scholarship to a university 2 hours away. I was proud, but terrified at the same time. I remember hugging her tightly that day and saying, "Call me every night, okay?" She laughed. "Dad, I'm not a kid anymore." But she did call, at least for the first few months. Then, slowly, the calls stopped. She'd text once a week, then once a month, then nothing. I told myself she was busy, that this was what growing up looked like. But the silence started to eat at me. A year later, she stopped coming home for holidays. She always had an excuse: group projects, part-time job, not feeling well. I started driving up to the university on weekends just to see her. But she was never around. Her roommate said she'd moved out to live with a friend. I didn't know who this friend was, but something about their tone made me uneasy. Still, I didn't want to pry too much. I didn't want to be that overprotective dad who couldn't let go. But then, 3 weeks ago, I got a call from her boss at a local cafe. "Mr. Johnson," she said, "Lily hasn't been showing up to work for days. We tried calling her but no response." That's when panic hit me. I tried calling her too, no answer. I texted, emailed, even reached out to her college advisor. Nothing. It felt like she had vanished. I couldn't sleep. My mind was racing with worst-case scenarios. And then last night, her neighbor, this same man who stopped me at the door, called me out of nowhere. He said he hadn't seen Lily for a while either, and that her apartment lights had been off for days. That's when I decided I was going there myself. The drive was long and tense. Every second felt heavier. I reached her apartment building around midnight. It was quiet except for the sound of rain tapping against the concrete. Her door was locked, but I had a spare key. I was about to use it when her neighbor appeared out of nowhere and yelled, "Stop." His voice was sharp, filled with panic. I turned to him and asked, "What's going on? Do you know where my daughter is?" He hesitated, looking around as if making sure no one was watching. Then he said something that froze my blood. "Mr. Johnson, I think your daughter's in trouble, and it's not safe for you to go in there right now." My knees felt weak. "What do you mean not safe?" I asked. He swallowed hard and said, "There's someone in there. I've seen a man going in and out of her apartment late at night. He doesn't live here." I tried to ask Lily about it once, but she brushed it off. The last time I saw her, she looked scared. My heart dropped. I didn't know what to believe. Was she with someone abusive? Was she being held against her will? I didn't care anymore. I pushed past him and unlocked the door. The moment I stepped inside, the smell hit me first. Something foul, like rotten food and stale air. The place was dark, curtains drawn, lights off. "Lily?" I called out. No answer. My voice echoed off the walls. I flicked on the light, and what I saw made my chest tighten. The living room was a mess, clothes scattered everywhere, dishes piled up, and on the coffee table were empty pill bottles. My mind raced. Was she sick? Depressed? I shouted again, "Lily, where are you?" Then I heard a sound, a faint creak from the bedroom. I rushed toward it, but the neighbor grabbed my arm. "Don't go in there," he whispered, eyes filled with dread. But I had to. I yanked my arm free and pushed open the door. Inside, the room was dimly lit by the streetlight filtering through the blinds. The bed was unmade, but empty. Then I noticed the photos on the nightstand. There were pictures of Lily and a man, a much older man. I felt sick. He had his arm around her in all of them. In one photo, she looked happy. In another, she looked forced. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. The neighbor quietly stepped beside me and said, "That's the man I've seen. He doesn't live here, but he's been around for months. I think she was hiding something from you." I felt anger bubbling up inside me. "Who is he?" I demanded. The neighbor looked away. "I don't know his name, but I've heard them arguing. Once I even heard her crying through the wall." My world started spinning. I couldn't believe my daughter, my bright, innocent Lily, had been living like this. And I didn't even know. I sat down on the bed, clutching one of the photos, trying to make sense of it. That's when I noticed something else. A note tucked under the lamp. My hands shook as I unfolded it. It read, "Dad, if you find this, please don't be angry. I'm sorry for everything. I didn't know who to trust anymore." My throat tightened. I could barely breathe. The neighbor sat beside me and said softly, "There's more. A few days ago, I saw that same man leaving with a suitcase. He looked nervous. Since then, I haven't seen Lily once. I don't know what came over me." I rushed out of the apartment and went straight to the police. They took my statement, searched her place, and found traces that she'd packed a bag. But there was no sign of where she'd gone. The detective asked if I knew the man in the pictures. I didn't. But when they showed me a photo lineup a few days later, my heart stopped. The man was someone I did know. He was my ex-wife's new husband. That's when everything came crashing down. I remembered how my ex, Sandra, used to ask about Lily, if she was doing okay, if she needed money. She had even offered to help her find a place near campus. I thought it was a kind gesture at the time, but now it all made sense. She had introduced Lily to him, her own husband, and somehow things had gone horribly wrong. So that's the situation I was in. Standing there with this horrifying realization that my daughter had been manipulated by the one person who should have protected her. And I had to make a choice. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause for a moment and really think. What would you have done in my place? Would you have confronted them immediately? Or would you have gone to the police quietly and let them handle it? Tell me in the comments, because this is where things got dark. I couldn't wait for the police to handle it. I needed answers. I drove straight to Sandra's house that same night. When she opened the door, her expression changed from shock to guilt in an instant. "David," she stammered, "what are you doing here?" I held up one of the photos. "Where's Lily?" Her face went pale. I don't know," she said, stepping back. But her eyes darted toward the stairs. That was all I needed to see. I pushed past her and stormed upstairs. In one of the bedrooms, I found Lily sitting on the bed, her face buried in her hands. She looked thin, exhausted, and broken. When she saw me, she burst into tears. "Dad," she whispered. I rushed to her and held her tight. "It's okay," I said, my own tears falling. "You're safe now. Tell me what happened." What she told me shattered me completely. After moving out of her dorm, she said Sandra's husband, Mark, offered her a place to stay while she figured things out. He said he'd help her with rent and college expenses. At first, he was kind supportive. But then, things changed. He became controlling, manipulative, and when she tried to move out, he threatened her, said he'd ruin her reputation, that he'd tell lies about her. She didn't know who to turn to because she thought I'd blame her. That's why she cut me off. That's why she disappeared. I was furious. I went downstairs and confronted Mark right there. He tried to deny everything, but Lily's trembling voice from upstairs made it clear what he'd done. I called the police, and that night, he was arrested. It turned out, he had a history of similar behavior that Sandra never knew. Or maybe she didn't want to know. Either way, he's now behind bars. In the days that followed, Lily stayed with me. It took her weeks to even smile again. She was fragile, but healing. I realized then how fragile trust really is. How even those closest to you can hide monsters behind friendly faces. I blamed myself for not noticing sooner. For believing everything was fine just because she said it was. But she told me, "Dad, you did your best. You always did." And maybe she was right. Maybe as parents we never stop worrying, never stop trying to fix what's broken. Now, months later, she's doing better. She's in therapy, back in school, and slowly rebuilding her confidence. And that neighbor, the one who stopped me that night, he's become a friend. He told me, "You might have walked into something dangerous if you hadn't stopped. I just wanted to protect both of you." I'll never forget that. Sometimes, strangers see what we can't. If you've listened to this whole story, tell me honestly. Was I wrong to barge in that night? Should I have waited for the police? Or would you have done exactly what I did? Because when it comes to your child, hesitation isn't an option. Like this video if you were on my side. Subscribe for more stories like this, and share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments. I'm still healing, still processing everything that happened. But I know one thing for sure. Love makes you brave in ways you can't imagine. I'll see you all in the next story.